My name is Steve Gaines, and I'm the Dean of the Bren School here, and it's my pleasure to welcome our corporate partners and friends and faculty and students to this event. The Corporate Summit's one of the real highlights of the year for the Bren School, and we're really excited about the program we've put together for the next couple of days. And I'm going to be hosting this, and in the true spirit of the corporate partnership idea here, where I'm going to be hosting it with Tim Cohen, who's the URS Vice President and who's also the chair of our Corporate Partners Program. And he's actually going to do most of the facilitation because he's so good at it. So welcome to everyone. And you know, the Bren School's Corporate Partner Program is how we develop mutually beneficial partnerships between the school and national and international corporations that share our interest and vision in sustainable enterprise, innovative research, and educational programs of preeminent quality. So it's really unlike any other program in the country. In fact, it was one of the things that really attracted me to this position, that no other environmental school that I know of really has this kind of extensive partnership with corporations in terms of really thinking about the nature of environmental problems and the range of solutions that we need to bring to the table. So our corporate partnership program is an invitation-only program, and we do our diligence on our part in terms of really looking for ideal partners so that these things really are mutually beneficial relationships. That's really our goal here. And you know, we limit these partnerships to corporations that have demonstrated leadership in their field, because we want to have an impact with the kinds of solutions that we develop together to various environmental problems, and that share our commitment to making really significant strides in sustainability and environmental innovation. And so with that theme, that's really one of the motivations for why we have this focus for this session on corporate sustainability. So your partnership and participation as corporate partners is incredibly important to the Bren School. There are a number of ways that the corporate partnership program really benefits us. The obvious, some of the obvious ones are in terms of financial support, which provides enormous opportunities for our students and faculty to actually be able to reach their potential. Providing insight in terms of the kinds of skills that we need to provide for students that are going to go out and be the next generation of environmental leaders. That's a really important aspect of the kinds of things to do. Bringing really challenging problems to the table for us to work on together to solve. That's one of the, I think, really innovative aspects of this partnership, of having the group project model with a strong focus on clients submitting proposals, which allows us to really focus on problems that need to be solved today, and where there are willing clients that are going to take the innovative ideas that come out of these projects and actually run with them. That's a really important aspect of the success of the educational program here. So there's many, many ways that the participation of our corporate partners actually greatly enhances this school. So we have a number of different kinds of partner programs with corporations. Our platinum partners are ones that have really focused on helping us develop this green building, which is the only building in the country with a double platinum LEEDs rating. We have a whole variety of program partners, of corporations of a variety of sizes, that really look at supporting individual components of the programs we have in the diverse areas of environmental science, management, and policy. And then our broader corporate partners, where we really have kind of transformative relationships in terms of thinking about working from within the company to solve major environmental problems. And you're going to hear about some of those kinds of partnerships over the next couple of days. So it's a terrific program. It's something that's of enormous value to the campus, and I think I'd like to acknowledge, I know there's a number of corporate partners here in the room. Perhaps all the people who are representing some of our corporate partners could just raise their hands so we could actually acknowledge your contribution to the school, because it's really terrific. So thank you. So that's enough introduction, but what I'd like to do now is introduce Tim Cohen, who, as I said, is URS Vice President, and he's our Corporate Partners Program Chair. He is going to facilitate our summit. He's actually done that for many years now in a row, and we're not going to let him go away because he does such a good job at it. Tim manages offices and major projects along the Central Coast region for URS, and he serves as the senior principal on a wide range of projects, including CEQA and NEPA analysis and public and stakeholder involvement, energy facility siting and licensing, and environmental permitting. He has a bachelor's degree in biological sciences and a master's in environmental resource management, and he's a member of the American Planning Association and the American Institute of Certified Planners, and he's been a terrific supporter of the Bren School, and he's actually received awards for his talent in facilitating meetings, which is why we keep inviting him back to do this over and over again. So, Tim.
Thank you, Steve, for the kind introduction. One year, Dean Ernst introduced me as the Executive Vice President of URS, and I told him I'd be writing a memo to my managers the next day informing them of my promotion, seeking equitable compensation, but it really never worked out. My name is Tim Cohen. Very pleased to be here again this year to help with the Corporate Partners Summit, really the highlight of our overall year-long Corporate Partners program. Bren School really has made itself into one of the preeminent graduate environmental programs in the country, and the Corporate Partners program is a concrete example of how that's been done. As business people, we're always looking for ways to maximize and increase our business and our business approach and our business strategy. And as managers, you all know that one of the best ways we can do that is hire the right talent to help us implement that strategy. And the Bren School is the petri dish of where that occurs. The opportunity that we have as corporate partners is pretty diverse. One of the key opportunities is the access to Bren students and Bren faculty. But it works both ways. One of the things that set the Bren School apart is that they proactively seek out business input from the business community and help and elicit that so that we can provide input by speaking to the students directly as business mentors, to provide input in the form of curricula development and many other ways. So it's a great program, and we're here today and tomorrow for really the highlight of the program that happens once a year, and that's the Corporate Summit. Bren School doesn't just talk about problems. One of the nice things about Bren School students is they solve problems. This is our opportunity as the Corporate Partners Program to get together and talk about major problems and hopefully discuss solutions. That's what tomorrow will be all about. The Bren School has picked a doozy of a topic this year to do that with, and that's sustainability. And as you know, if you ask different people what that means, you'll get a different answer from each one of them. And we'll go through that topic tomorrow very vigorously to discuss what it means to us as corporate partners and some of the approaches and solutions we might be able to implement in our businesses. Talking about a problem solver, it's my job also to introduce someone. So I want to introduce Chris Costello, who's a professor here of resource economics. He is a problem solver, and just like a lot of professors at the Bren School, he's also a mentor to the students. He's been involved in many different areas of resource economics, and he's here to talk with us today about specific things we can do as corporate partners or people who are thinking about becoming corporate partners to create even a stronger nexus between our program and ways that we can help the program here at UCSB. So please welcome Chris.
Okay, let me test the mic here. I think I'm wired.
I get to keep this one.
And my biggest challenge is that I'm used to lecturing in this very room to students in the back with no mic. And they've forced me to wear a mic because they're taping this thing. So I'm going to try not to yell. But in the case that somebody might want to fall asleep, I'll raise my voice a little. Make sure you stay awake. And Tim, thanks so much for the for the generous introduction, and I like your Petri dish example, and I guess that makes me an amoeba or a bacteria or something like that, which is just great. It's just about right. What I'm going to do here is just take a few minutes of your time, maybe about 10 minutes of your time, to tell you about, or sort of, I guess, highlight some of the ways that you as a corporate partner can engage with the Bren School in a productive way that's, mutually beneficial, as Dean Gaines said. And, I really view the Corporate Partners Program as a grand experiment, in a sense. It's never been tried to really have substantive engagement between the faculty and students and staff and alumni of a school like this and corporate partners like yourselves. Everybody has sponsors, but to really engage at a substantive level has, as far as we know, never been done. So we are committed as faculty and staff here to helping make that program work in a mutually beneficial way. And so that's what we're here to do. So I'm going to spend about the next 10 minutes or so telling you about some of the ways that we think that can happen. We'll leave plenty of time at the end for Q&A. You can ask questions about how to engage, who to engage with, and how you do that in a practical way. But before we go to Q&A, what we're going to do is I'm going to ask this team of students up front here to come up and give you an example, provide an example of the group project process here at the Bren School. So that's one of the highlights I'm going to give you in the next 10 minutes, is how the group project process works and how corporate partners can engage with the school using that as a vehicle. For those of you unfamiliar with that process, they're going to give you an example of what that looks like and what it means. Okay? All right. I like to think of the goal or the objective of the Corporate Partners Program here as the Bren School partnering with corporations to create win-win solutions for the environment and the economy at the same time. You hear a lot of talk about win-win solutions. Does it really exist? When does it exist? And when I travel around the country and give talks at other departments and stuff, one thing you really notice is that the difference, what distinguishes the Bren School and the approach we take from all the other schools out there, is that we focus on solutions. We don't get up and talk about this is a problem, that's a problem, and I'm the first person to identify it. We talk about, everybody's identified this as a problem. Here's an innovative solution for overcoming that problem. And we need your help to do that, and we benefit from your engagement in that process. As far as we know, and this has been said several times, this is the only academic and corporate partnership of its kind among the top schools of the environment. We have lots of colleagues from those other schools, and whenever they visit here, either to teach a class or to engage with us in research, this is the first thing they say is, how did you get the corporations of that stature to engage at such a substantive level with the school? And of course we don't tell them the secret to our success, but they're all very jealous because they don't have it. So before I move on to touching on some of the highlights for how our corporate partners engage with the school, I want to quickly introduce three people. And these are going to be the people that you may already know, some of these folks, but these are the people that are most likely going to be your first point of contact with the school. And as you try to engage with the school at a deeper level, these are probably the people you want to go to first, and they'll help you link you with the appropriate faculty or staff or students. So the first is Jennifer Deacon and Saren Brown. And Jennifer and Saren head our development team. So they're just straight upstairs here, and they work nonstop. You've probably received lots of emails and flyers from them, but they know all of you. If you haven't gotten to know Saren, she's a relatively new addition to the staff. You should do so. She's just a great addition, so we're happy to have her. The other person I want to introduce you to is Dave Parker. Where's Dave? Here's Dave. And Dave directs our career development office. So if you've, as a corporate partner, if you have engaged our students in an internship or hired one of our students or alumni, you've probably spoken with Dave or someone that works with Dave. And Dave's very happy to work with you, and I'll talk about some of the sort of customized ways he can do that in the next few slides. But those are the three people you really need to know. You don't need to know me. But maybe they'll introduce you to me if we have something further to talk about, and that's a great way for you to get engaged with the school. Okay, the first thing I want to talk about as a means or a mechanism for you to engage with the school is through advanced recruiting. Okay, so you run a corporation or you work for a corporation that needs high-quality employees. Okay, and maybe they're interns, maybe they're permanent employees, and lots of corporations pay lots of money to headhunters to go find the right person. And we have the in-house capability and the willingness to do that for you. So essentially how we want you to think about this is that by working through Dave's office and communicating your needs to Dave, he can help customize solutions to you. He can help with targeted recruiting. He can post employment opportunities that your company has. He can help work with you to say, well, this is my set of parameters or needs. What set of students or alumni might help best fit those needs? We also have facilities for one-on-one interviews right here on campus, and lots of staff support to help make that a fluid and productive process. Now, many of you actually don't live here in town, and it's cumbersome or costly to actually come here. We have a series of regional networking receptions that we hold in places like Washington or New York, LA, San Francisco, and other locations. They usually have 50 to 100 attendees, and the whole purpose there is to bring together people in that geographic area to discuss environmental problems and solutions. And our staff are there to facilitate that process, and these regional networking receptions are often hosted by you, our corporate partners. Okay, the next thing is, the next way that you can engage, and it's a way that really benefits us as well as you, is for you to come to the school and share your needs with us. So you can come in and, for example, give a career talk. Okay, you can come coordinate with Dave's office to come in, and all the students will show up, faculty, staff, people interested in your line, your profession will come to learn about what you do. And it's beneficial to us and to our students because, as faculty, we know the theory, we know something about the policy arena, but we don't know the cutting edge of business. So when you come in, it benefits all of us and keeps us at the cutting edge. It also benefits you because you can help attract, the right students into your industry or into your company. You can use that as an opportunity to emphasize the merits of your industry, why should you come work for me kind of thing. But you can also use it as an opportunity to think about a new direction for your industry. If you sort of see the writing on the wall and the industry is moving in a new direction, you can come to us to engage in a conversation about how you might move forward in that direction. Another way for you to engage, and frankly a way that really benefits our students, is for you to tell us what skills your industry, employees in your industry are going to need in the coming years. Okay, we have we think very deeply about our curriculum here, and that involves coursework, colloquia, internships, and so forth. But we're always looking for that new thing. What's the thing that our students need to know that will give them a competitive advantage when they're out on the job market? So if you come to us and say, gee, I think this skill set, life cycle assessment, for example, or some new modeling approach, or some combination of skills is going to be particularly productive for future employees, we'll help work that into the curriculum. So we find that very useful. And then when we produce students with that skill set, they're ideal candidates for your positions. We also offer you the opportunity to have increased visibility on our website. This isn't just the corporate partner page with your logo. It's if, let's say, for example, you engage with a group project, every time they come up and present, they're talking about your company. Every time they go anywhere around the world to present the results, they're engaging with people, talking about what a great client you were and how they worked with you to create an environmental solution. Okay, so I've sort of talked about how you could come in and teach us. This is how we might be able to teach you. So there are many opportunities for you to come to the school and sort of have a continuing education experience. Okay, John's sitting here, and he's sitting in the same seat. He's one of our corporate partners, and John sat in that same seat when I was teaching my course on environmental economics, which he audited last quarter. So John approached me at the beginning of the quarter, said, I'd like to audit your course. I think I'll learn a new set of skills that will be useful in my career. I said, sounds great, not knowing what to expect, to be perfectly honest. and he was an extremely productive member of the audience. I think all the students benefited from his participation. So that's just one example. There's also, industry-specific courses that you may want to hone a particular skill. UCSB Extension offers courses that you can get credit for if you want to take courses for credit. Some of those are taught by Bren faculty. Many of them are relevant for environmental problem solving. And we have a whole sort of host of public lectures, colloquia, symposia, all these kinds of things that are available to you. And you probably get tons of emails from the Bren School about these things. As a corporate partner, let's say you have a particular set of interests and you don't want to have to wade through or filter that huge list of possibilities. Talk to Jennifer and her team and they'll help customize that. They'll alert you to particularly useful symposia or colloquia or workshops. Okay, the one group that I've left out so far is the group of faculty, which I'm a member of. And let me just say that when we hire new faculty, we do so very deliberately. And we hire faculty that can do two things. Faculty that can teach and engage with students in a really productive, innovative way, and faculty that are internationally known for their research agendas. And so you get that package when you engage with faculty. Now, one way you can engage is through sponsoring research. So, the idea would be you work with a faculty member to craft a proposal, and that faculty member then engages in research that will help your industry or your corporation. But another is through outside consulting. So you can hire faculty on a sort of an ad hoc, one-on-one basis to conduct a consulting project for your industry, for example, or perhaps just as a technical advisor or a policy advisor for some issue you're confronting. Okay, last but not least, and the one that, personally I think is maybe the most exciting way for you to engage with the school. And many of you already have, and I think that's great, and I'm looking forward to hearing your reflections on that, is through the group project. Okay, now let me just quickly tell you what that is for those of you unfamiliar with it. We have this unique thing at the Bren School called the group project, which serves as the master's thesis for all of our master's students. We have about 80 students a year that go through this program. It's a 2-year master's program, and the whole second year of that program is devoted to a group project. The idea is to solve a real-world environmental problem. Okay? Where do those environmental problems come from? They come from you. So we have a request for proposals. We put that out on the website and advertise it pretty widely. We get lots of response. We get proposals written. The timing is around January. I think you've got some materials in your packet there on this. And the idea is that you work with faculty and often students to craft a proposal. It's a 2 to 3 page proposal. And if it's selected, we get maybe 2 to 3 times as many as we can actually select. But if yours is selected, you get exceptionally well-trained and energetic master students, 5 or 6 of them usually, for about a year to work on this particular project that can benefit your company. And you also get a faculty advisor who helps, think through the problem, formulate the question that they're trying to answer, think through the methods for answering the question. Okay? And that probably seems a little abstract if you haven't engaged it in this way with the school. And we've got a group that's going to give you a demonstration of what that process is all about in just a second. But before I get there, let me just tell you why this is such a great thing for us. It's a great thing for you because you get to propose a problem that you need solved, and you get a bunch of energetic, smart students to help solve that problem. It's a great thing for us because these students get sort of a simulated real-world experience. Okay, they're under the protection of a school. They're still in academia, and they get course credit and all those good things, but they're solving a real-world problem that we as faculty didn't make up as a homework assignment. You made up as a problem you actually need solved. So we have found that this is a really mutually beneficial experience for the clients, for the faculty, and for the students. So let me call up the Patagonia team, and Loretta's going to take the lead here. This team did a group project in conjunction with Patagonia in the past year, and they're going to present to you kind of an abridged version of their final report. So they're just now finishing the cycle of their group project, and they've got their final report and their final presentation, and they've created a condensed version of that to about 10 minutes. So they're going to spend about 10 minutes presenting that to you. Then I'm going to come back up and do a Q&A. So think of questions while they're presenting, and we'll move forward from there. Loretta?
Thanks for the introduction. So my teammates, Lindsay, Daniel, Amelia, and I partnered with Patagonia to develop a product water footprinting methodology for their garments. So Patagonia has this corporate philosophy of causing the least harm to the environment while using business to inspire solutions to the environmental crisis. And Patagonia has pioneered the tracking of environmental impacts of their garments through their footprint chronicles, and they wanted to address the environmental risk and concerns regarding water. With increasing demand for water resources due to population growth and with climate change, it's projected by the year 2050 that there will be only 45,000 gallons of water per person per year for 90% of the world's population. And with only 100,000th of the total water on the planet available for us to conduct our everyday business, business leaders must take into consideration the physical, regulatory, and reputational risks that might occur due to the water that they use throughout the world. So for our project, we had two primary objectives: develop a simple and replicable methodology for Patagonia to measure the use of water for any garment, and also to assess the environmental impact of that water use. So we applied this methodology to their Simply Organic cotton t-shirt. For this particular product, the cotton is grown and spun into fiber in Turkey, and then it's shipped to the US, where it is woven into a fabric, dyed, and then cut and sewn into a t-shirt. Through our Excel-based surveys, we found that not all of these processes are water intensive, and for this particular cotton t-shirt, we found that the most water intensive processes were for raw materials and for dyeing. So we were able to calculate a water footprint for the Patagonia cotton t-shirt through our supply chain sources and through literature review, and found that 457 liters of rainwater and 243 liters of irrigation water is required to grow cotton, and an additional 3 liters is required to dye the t-shirt, giving a grand total of 703 liters of water to produce the cotton t-shirt. Now, 703 liters is approximately 200 gallons of milk. That's only for one t-shirt, though. So if we look at the annual production for all of the Simply Organic t-shirts that they produced, it was approximately 28 million liters of water. And that fills approximately 11 Olympic-sized swimming pools. So now that I've gone through how we use the methodology to determine the size of the water footprint, Amelia will now walk you through how we assessed the environmental impact of that water use.
Thank you, Loretta. So we needed to look at Patagonia's water use in the context of its location, because a liter of water in one region isn't necessarily equal to a liter in another region because of water scarcity differences. Patagonia has suppliers all over the world, and once they understand the impact of their water use in one region versus another, they'll be able to factor that into their decision making when they decide to contract with a supplier. So one way that they can do this is by using this map of water stress, which was developed by a group at the Institute of Environmental Engineering in Switzerland. So the regions in blue are unstressed, and the regions in red are stressed. So you'll probably see some regions that don't quite match up with your intuition. For example, why is Australia all blue? Well, the reason is because it's based on an equation called the water stress index, which is really a ratio between water demand and water supply. So an area like Australia that doesn't have a lot of natural supply also doesn't have a lot of demand in those regions. So we used this map to compare the water use of two of Patagonia's suppliers, one of whom is located in Turkey, and they are the supplier of the organic cotton for the t-shirt Loretta was telling you about, and they're located in a region that has a relatively low water stress index value of about 0.13, and the other supplier is located in China, and they have a high water stress index of 1. So looking at Turkey first, when we apply the water stress index, the irrigation water footprint from their growing operations actually caused their footprint to shrink a little bit. Compare that with China's water footprint. When we apply their water stress index, the impact of their water footprint grows considerably because they're located in a stressed region. Patagonia can use this method to compare their current suppliers, but they can also use this method to evaluate potential future suppliers. We plotted the locations of all the organic cotton suppliers in the world over this map of water stress as a way of giving a first approximation about what's going on in the region of a supplier's operations. What we did to enhance Patagonia's understanding of the actual on-the-ground water situation was provide a series of questions on the surveys that they can send out to their suppliers that address some of the socio and economic aspects of that region's and that industry's water use. So all told, the footprint calculation tool and the impact assessment methodology is helping Patagonia to measure and assess their water impact use through their supply chains. And in addition, we've provided some recommendations that'll help Patagonia to reduce business risks that are associated with their water use in a resource-constrained world. These suggestions include being aware of supplier locations, namely which suppliers are located in the most stressed regions, and incorporating that into their decision-making process when deciding who to contract with. Maintaining transparency, not only about the methodology by which they calculate their footprint so that they can help further the dialogue on corporate water footprinting, which is still an emerging practice, but also communicating with people about their next steps that they're taking to address water problems in an effort to help reduce the risk of reputational damage. They should consider the socioeconomic impacts as a way of gauging regulatory risks from the questions that we pose on our surveys. And lastly, they should do business with suppliers who are engaged with local stakeholders on water issues. So in a lot of ways, these recommendations reinforce the efforts that Patagonia is already taking to address the water issues, but it also challenges them to take decisive steps to integrate water use into their corporate philosophy, which is to do no unnecessary harm while using business to inspire solutions to the environmental crisis. That wraps up our brief presentation, and I'll turn it back over to Chris.
All right, that was a great example of a Bren School group project product, and I'm sure you all have substance questions about what they've done, and we invite you after this session. So in just a few minutes, we're going to retire upstairs, and there's a poster session, and they'll be hosting your questions up there, as will 8 other Bren School group project groups. So you should hold your substance questions until you can really nail them in front of their poster and say, what about this thing, or where did the data come for that? And they're really eager to answer those questions. So we'll go up in a few minutes to do that. But for the next, 15 minutes or so, 10 or 15 minutes, what I'd like to do is refocus the discussion or the Q&A on how corporations can engage with the Bren School in a productive way. And keeping with this theme of the group project, I want to maybe kick it off with a question to you guys. So I've been here about 10 years now, and I've advised, I guess, about 10 group projects. And one theme that I've noticed is that one common theme of successful group projects is that they start with a really solid proposal. And I wondered if you guys could reflect on, a year ago, or whenever that was, when you wrote your proposal, and ask you, how did that come about? Who came up with the idea? Was Patagonia involved in that process? And how did the proposal come about?
Okay. Well, one of Patagonia's representatives spoke in one of our classes last year, the Business and the Environment class. And during their presentation, she highlighted the footprint Chronicles website that they've been developing, and also mentioned that they wanted to start doing water footprinting, but they didn't know how. So that really interested me, so I contacted her and said that I thought I would like to propose this as a group project, and they were really enthusiastic about the idea. They'd been looking for a way to engage with Bren, but hadn't yet figured out what the best way to do that would be. So we worked over a series of 3 meetings over the course of a month and a half or so, and shot back and forth a bunch of emails and developed a proposal. And I was able to consult with some of the administrative staff here about, you know, what sorts of things would make a strong proposal to help scope it. And fortunately it was accepted.
Yeah, let me just make a quick note about that, you know, the product for these group projects is not always the same thing. So sometimes it's a report, sometimes it's a method. I mean, you guys essentially developed a method. Sometimes it's an actual new piece of technology or a new way to calculate something. So it's really customized to the needs of the client. The client is often a corporation, but it could also be a non-governmental organization or another entity that wants to solve an environmental problem. So let me just open it up now to any questions you might have about how corporations can engage with the school, or specific questions about the group project process, if you like. Come on, people. I'm sure you have questions. Yes, sir.
Are any of you people applying to Patagonia for employment?
So one of the things that we noticed as we worked with Patagonia throughout the year is that there is not a very high turnover rate amongst their employees. But I think that we're all very open to doing one-off projects to continue to help them flesh out what we've done in terms of the methodology. And over the next 2 years, they will be launching a water initiative through their environmental side of the house. And so for the first time, they are really trying to fold in their own business practices into that process. And so the work that we've done is going to gain legs through that effort, and will help inform that initiative over the next 2 years. And we're all very excited about that.
And one thing you notice about these group projects as well is that even if they don't end up going to work for Patagonia, doing something like this or something else, they've developed a methodology that then is transportable. And so other industries, other corporations may want to hire them to do this very specific thing. How do you calculate the water use of my product? Are you guys a group package? Dennis.
Chris, what is the criteria and the process by which a proposal is accepted as a project? You said you often get 2 to 3 times the number of proposals that you can accept.
Yeah, let me be perfectly frank. When I first came, okay, so I came about 3 or 4 years into the school, and you know, we struggle to get 11 proposals for 10 we were going to accept. And now the thing is ultra competitive. I mean, people start as early as now to start developing these proposals so that they'll have the highest likelihood of success in January when they're finally chosen. So let me just tell you quickly what the process is. So they can originate from a client, they can originate from a faculty member, they can originate from a group of students. But ultimately, at least in my experience, and others can comment on this, the best proposals are ones that are written by all 3 of those people with some faculty input, some student input, and the input of a client. So there always has to be a client on a group project proposal. So then these things all come in the same format. You know, there's an RFP on the web, and I think we've included it in your packet. So they all come in the same format, sort of 2 to 3 page proposals. There's a committee at the school that reviews all those proposals and considers, you know, student demand, student interest, how it links in with the priorities of the school, with the mission of the school, with the curriculum of the school, and all those sorts of things. And using all those criteria, has to select a set number of projects. And you know, you take the number of students that year, divide by about 5, because there's about 5 students on the project, and that's how many can be selected. So then you've got your pool of selected projects. The letters go out to the winners and the folks that didn't succeed. often with some suggestions about how it could be developed for the following year, or how, the reason it wasn't selected, that sort of thing. So then you've got this pool, and you've got all these students. So how do you get the perfect set of students on the perfect project? Well, we could randomly assign students to projects. That's not a good idea, because these things are really diverse, okay? So what we do is we give the students an opportunity to self-select onto the projects, and we have a sophisticated formula for doing that, but basically they vote on the 2 or 3 that they really pick as their top choices, and we put those 2 lists together, and we get a great set of students on a bunch of great projects. Yeah.
First, how much water was used to manufacture the presentation? I'm sorry. And who owns the project at the end of the term? I mean, does Patagonia have any rights to what you're doing here? If another company was interested in having you perform the exact same analysis, is Patagonia involved, or is it the Bren School, or is it you individually? How does that work?
That's an excellent question. Do you guys want to say how much water was used to prepare this? Maybe it was wine. But let me address your second question, and Jennifer may wish to weigh in, or the dean may wish to weigh in here. This is something that's constantly evolving in the school, and one aspect of the school that has emerged recently and is really growing very quickly is something called the Eco-Entrepreneurship Program, where the projects genuinely are trying to create a new technology that may have intellectual property associated with it. And so we're working with lawyers and legal counsel on staff at the university to figure out how that works, using the engineering model as an example. But you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but for a project like this, there would be no intellectual property, typically, and I think that's the case here. So if someone else wanted the same kind of analysis done, there's no implied intellectual property that Patagonia would own. Jennifer, do you want to add anything to that, or Steve?
Oftentimes, if the students are being paid in academic credit and the school provides the basic budget to run the group projects, that basic budget actually comes from the commitment of all of you through corporate partners. That's one of the ways that your resources are put to work here. So there's no direct line between the client and the group project outcome. And what we're hearing from our council on campus is that in most cases the students own the intellectual property. It's a little bit different for faculty working on grants, and it's if they're using classrooms or laboratories and so forth. But because of the nature of this being a learning experience, it's a little bit different. So early reading is that the students are going to fare very well in this.
But I think it's also worth saying that if intellectual property is an issue and it's flagged early on in the process, there is a model for your company sort of maintaining its intellectual property if it's developed as part of the project. So the real danger is if you don't recognize that till after. So I think if we see that early on, we have a sort of a framework for dealing with that. John?
Yes, specific question to this project, and maybe also in general. The research tools that were used in the approaches, when you're working with an organization, a lot of times they have their own systems and own history of how they solve problems or look at problems. Did this project come up with some new approach that they didn't think of? For example, your scanning of the world and stress. And is that a lot of times a positive outcome that people who are with the organization realize there's another way to look at things that really cleared this up for them?
I think that there were definitely some things that going into the start of the project, we figured that we would use some pre-existing tools. We also leveraged some of the surveys that Patagonia had done to measure their carbon footprint, but then built on that and improved that tool for them on the water side of things. But as we moved through the project, some of the original water tools that were out within the water footprinting community weren't really going to address our needs appropriately, and so we started looking elsewhere, and the incorporation of the water stress map was something that we actually were able to be exposed to by going to a corporate water footprinting conference and saw a colleague of Stephen Pfister present there. And that's where we got the initial idea to actually put the two together. And my understanding is that's an approach that hadn't been taken before, and it's something that the community is still kind of fleshing out and working through, but the people are excited about.
Yeah, one of the great values of being in a place like the Bren School, an interdisciplinary program like the Bren School, is what we call intellectual arbitrage. So we have expertise from so many different disciplines that when we see a problem that one discipline has never confronted, often it's been confronted by another discipline, and we can use tools or approaches developed in that discipline and bring it over, and that's a genuine contribution. So that's a model we've used for group projects. It's also something we do on the research side of things. So often we're just saying, well, gee, if we just adopt this method used in this other field, we can solve this problem using a tool that already exists. Yes?
Have you ever done a project where it was a group project on the client side, so where there was more than one client involved with the team?
Aha! Oh, that's clever. I can't think of an example of that. That's a great question. John, you have some intellectual memory. Do you? The question was, have we ever had instead of the group being the students, have we ever had a group being a group of clients? So a consortium of clients wants a problem solved, and they engage the Bren School to do that. But there's certainly no reason that couldn't happen. I don't think there's anything that says there has to be just one client. So that's a great idea. Interesting. Dave.
Well, I know there are clients that have come to us with the intent of maybe making within an industry where they've seen that there's a lack of something, and I can think of Gill's Onions as an example of in the agricultural industry, seeing that the approach that they're taking and what they're interested in is not really happening in a widespread manner throughout the industry, and if they could look into that and adopt those types of solutions, that could spread throughout that entire industry.
Great point. Yeah, sure. But you could do it in an even more deliberate way. Yeah, that's really interesting. I think we have time for about one more question if you've got it. Otherwise, I invite you. Can I invite them to adjourn? Okay. Or Tim, would you like to invite them to adjourn?
I would like to invite you to adjourn.